there was a creator outside of the universe, how would we even be certain that he exists? My name's Nick.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Well, I'm good. I have a question about the cosmological argument.
Yes, sir.
Well, I hadn't heard it references that. I've heard it as the first beginner or the beginning argument or whatever.
Sure.
But is part of that argument is that God exists outside of the universe? And if he exists outside of the universe, how can we possibly know he exists?
Right. We reason from effect to cause.
Well, my point is, like, we can't know anything outside of our universe, like you said with the multiverse in the beginning. So if there was a creator outside of the universe, how would we even be certain that he exists?
Because we're reasoning from effect to cause. There are things that transcend the universe, like the laws of logic.
Even if he does exist,
yeah.
Or like, how do we know the creator of the universe exists outside of the universe?
Well, from the data, if space, matter, and time had a beginning, then whatever created space, matter, and time would seem to have to transcend space, matter, and time. Spaceless, timeless, immaterial.
Why is that so inherently true? Like, why does it have
Well, it couldn't be made of space. If space, matter, and time had a beginning, whatever created it couldn't be made of space, matter, and time because there wasn't any space, matter, and time. That's why.
Okay.
Also, really, the only way to know God in a robust way is if he reveals himself. Just like if you... if I wanted to know you, you would have to reveal yourself to me. I could do some research about you and find you, but unless you really wanted to reveal things about yourself, there's no way I or anyone else in this room could figure them out. So we could say that there's a God out there, like a creator God, but we wouldn't know that much about him other than some of the attributes we already mentioned through this, what we call natural revelation, creation, and conscience. We would know that this being is spaceless, timeless, immaterial, is powerful, is personal, is moral because we have this moral law that is self-evident to us. But we wouldn't know some other things about him, like is he coming to save us? We might suspect it.
If it was a God, like how do we know the immaterial thing wasn't maybe plural gods or something else?
Well, the reason there can't ultimately be plural gods is because there has to be one uncomposed being. The reason is because everything that's composed is put together by a composer. Everything that's made of molecules is composed. It's put together by an external force, okay? The thing that puts everything together... Are
you saying like everything has design? Like
everything that's in space, matter, and time, like physical things, are composed. They're composed of parts.
Yes.
But ultimately, there has to be an uncomposed composer who wasn't composed by something else in order to have anything.
But how do we know that uncomposed composer is like a singular uncomposed composer? Or how do we know that outside of our universe they don't have their own composed composer?
Well, ultimately you're going to get back to it. Is it possible that there is some being that created this universe who isn't the ultimate cause? Is that what you mean?
I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it would seem if you philosophically work out the data that the best explanation using what we would call Occam's razor, that you don't multiply causes beyond necessity.
Well, that's still only logic in our universe. Like if he is outside.
Well, that's what we're supposed to use. We're supposed to use logic.
But now we're arguing like whether or not a single outside of our universe creator is truly the optimal one or like the most reasonable one when it's something we couldn't comprehend.
Well, no, I think we can comprehend it. In fact, let's look at it this way. Why can there only be one infinite, uncomposed being? And this is kind of a tongue twister, so it's better to see it than for me to say it.
Yeah.
First of all, an infinite being lacks nothing by definition, right?
Yeah, it's everything.
Okay. So secondly, for two beings to differ, one must lack something the other has. Right? But a being that lacks something is not infinite. Therefore, there can only be one infinite being.
Okay.
So ultimately, when you get back to the ultimate cause of all things, it's a being that's infinite, that lacks nothing, is an uncomposed composer. To use the language of Aristotle or Aquinas, this being is completely actualized. In other words, it has no potential because it's maxed out. We have potential, right? We can get smarter or dumber. We can get taller or shorter. This being doesn't have those kinds of attributes. It's completely maxed out. And that being, there can only be one of. There can't be two infinite beings. Because if
Yeah, no, makes sense.
You're with me on
Infinite
that.
is everything, yeah.
Okay,
so they
all right.
There can
So-
be two everything.
Right. So ultimately, you're going to get back to one spaceless, timeless, immaterial being. Now, who is that being? Well, in order for us to say it's the Christian God, we had to go into the historical evidence for Jesus.
Okay. Thanks.
Otherwise, it could just be the God of the Old Testament or just some generic theistic God, maybe an unmoved mover or some kind.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.